it was kind of, were we selling out? I don't know. And if I came to any conclusions, I have no idea, but that's probably makes a better story if you don't come to conclusions. Let things kind of, marinate. So I'm going to read just two sections from chapter 1 and chapter 2. And without further ado, here is part 1 of Marry Me a Little, a segment of part 1 of Marry Me a Little. Get that straight. Okay. On October 3rd, 2013, I got married. I often say I got gay married as a joke. I was 51 years old. John was 54. He and I had been together since January 2003. To be honest, I don't remember exactly how or when we decided to do it. Scene, a hotel in Toronto the day after TCAF, the Toronto Comics and Arts Festival. We started watching the live feed of the Minnesota Senate making their big decision as to whether or not same-sex couples could get gay married. The politicians on both sides were very earnest. Senate DFL leader Tom Bach told a heartfelt story about a family friend named Ray who was gay. What I learned growing up in that Bible camp? Acceptance. I learned about diversity. I learned about the golden rule. Senator Scott Dibble read a part of a poem by Langston Hughes, and he acknowledged his long-term partner, Richard. And what of the Republicans? Did any of them vote yes? Why, yes, indeed. Exactly one. Dan D. Hall of Burnsville was the more typical Republican. Later, when criticized for his no vote, he had this to say: "Some people have said they are concerned about being on the right side of history. I am more concerned about being on the right side of eternity." He also said, "I'm trying to be a nice guy, but I have a different opinion." Despite the naysayers, I recall that the results were pretty much a foregone conclusion. I felt a total surge of pride in my state. Go Minnesota, yeah, woo, number 12. We were number 12, folks. Yeah. We even beat out California. Starting August 1st, 2013, same-sex couples will be able to get married in Minnesota. Funny that we watched all of this in Canada. I have this thing about Canada. They always seem better than us. Canada was in fact the 4th country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage and the first outside of Europe. Canada, or at least Toronto, is awesome. Wow, we'll be going home to a wholly different situation. Right after John and I got married, people would ask us, "Do you feel any different?" It's like they wanted it to be transformative in some way. I have often been accused of being unromantic. This is my 90s boyfriend. "You don't have a sentimental bone in your body." I do too. Do I? It is true that I detest cheap sentiment. For example, this is a post on Facebook. A guy took a picture of his tear-filled eyes with a lovesick grin on his face, and it said, "He said yes." It got 1,000 likes, and I was more like, ugh. I'm sure he's totally sincere, but why do people gotta be so cornball? I don't go for that mushy stuff. Am I a dick? I literally can't remember either John proposing to me or vice versa. We never even exchanged rings. Okay, and that's the end of part 1. And the rest of chapter 1 is a lot of processing of like that we got married and like why did we do that and how was that for us and our privilege and all kinds of other things, you know. On September 3rd, 1971, Jack Baker and Michael McConnell got married in a friend's apartment in Minneapolis. This is 1971, folks. The year before that, they had applied for a marriage license. They were the first same-sex couple to ever do so. Their application was turned down by Hennepin County, and they subsequently fought the issue all the way to the Supreme Court. Though they eventually lost the case in 1972, in 1971 they had obtained a marriage license in another county after Jack changed his name to the gender-neutral Pat Lynn, and they got hitched. When the county attorney in that county found out about the couple being 2 men, he called their license invalid, but he never went to the courts to rescind it. So the license was never officially recorded, but the two were technically married. In a 2015 interview with the New York Times, Jack said, "We out fucks them." Wow, they were badasses and romantics at the same time. With their little matching headbands. Okay, where is it? Okay, here it is, the email we sent. That was our wedding announcement. Oh, nowadays, we might even send it as a text message. Okay. Come on. Okay, here's the, what? Okay. Oh, here's the email we sent, the actual email. "Hello, dears. Just a quick note to say that this Thursday we'll be stopping off at Judge Elizabeth Cutter's chambers to sign a few papers that will make the state and Gov recognize what we've been working on and enjoying for over 10 years. Woohoo! We're doing it unceremoniously. No big party, no registry, no releasing of doves. Just going out to dinner with some locals afterwards and looking forward to raising glasses with you, hopefully soon, to toast love and long friendships and commitment. Love, John and Rob. P.S. Being the true romantics that we are, we'll officially announce on Thursday by changing our Facebook statuses. Smile emoji." Huh. Like, why did we put unceremoniously in quotation marks? Remember Earthlink? Old school. Remember when I was actually on Facebook? Amazing how much things change in just a few years. Well, what did people think of this? What did they think of us? Oh, I don't know. I think it's fine. I think we were pretty straightforward about it. I think we came across as sincere. We were so sincere. Where am I here? Okay. In 2013, September 2013, we went sincerely to the government center to get our marriage license. Everyone was so nice. Were you busy on August 1st? That was the first day that you could get married. Oh, we were swamped. It was great. People just love. And at the time, we didn't really register how lucky we were to have had this kind of external support. After same-sex marriage was ruled legal nationwide in 2015, Kim Davis, the county clerk in Rowan County, Kentucky, refused to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Eventually, she began denying licenses to everybody just to avoid issuing them to the gays. She was sent to jail for contempt of court charges for, not doing her job. Boo on you, Kim Davis. Boo, 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 boo. My last depiction of you rendered with all the grace and dignity you deserve. We heard no objections from any quarter whatsoever. Everything was cool with everybody. So now we get married then. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm John, married to Rob. So I'll thank you from both of us for being here, and we want to thank Magers and Quinn for being such amazing hosts, and they've just been fantastic to work with. As you heard Rachel say at the beginning, the Magers and Quinn team suggested that when we do the interview section, it might be fun for me to interview Rob. We thought, okay, this will be great, because frankly, I have questions. No, actually, so that I don't fall back on the typical questions I would ask Rob, like, where are my glasses? What should we eat tonight? Should we just finish Severance? We finished Severance. So, I had a few people give us some questions to get us started, so thank you so much to my friends who handed me these. So we're going to start off with these, and then we'll open it up to for questions from all of you as well. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Hi, Rob.
Hi.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the book. Is that to say that? Okay, I think this is a great question to start off because it's really about the process. And the question is, at what point, I don't think I know the answer to this, at what point in the process of us going through this, at what point did you say, like, you know what, I should do a graphic memoir about this, and why? You want to take this one?
Yeah, I do have to. I'm going to take this one because it was directed to me.
Okay. Go.
So, yeah, I believe I started thinking about it while it was happening. I thought, whoa, okay, this is interesting because I'm ambivalent about some of this stuff. I'm not, I mean, it's a really interesting topic, and I really was. I was really, wow, this is historic. Like, we're getting married. What? I never thought that would ever happen. Seriously. I mean, people talked about it even 10 years ago. I was like, what? No. So I think it is also hazy, isn't it? But I think I probably was kind of trying to remember this stuff and writing stuff down pretty quickly, pretty early on. Yeah. I don't think right when we decided to do it, because like as you saw in the reading, we didn't propose or anything. We were just kind of like, I think we just kind of like decided we would do it. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah. But early on I thought, that this is a good top. This has stuff in it that I want to talk about. So
I'm going to grab that other mic so we don't have to keep.
Then we can do a duet.
Great. And so someone asked, what was the most difficult part of the book to write or draw? And I guess that's, the other question is, which comes first, the music or the lyrics?
Yeah, well, I always tell like young cartoonists, don't do what I do, because my process is really, it's so messy and sloppy. I remember the part about the wedding songs was just like nearly gave me a brain hemorrhage. I could not figure out how to do that section, and I knew I really wanted to do that section about my favorite songs about weddings, and and just somehow you just keep trying and writing it, and somehow it all came together. Also, the part of the book I'm proudest of is the last part of chapter 1, which I should probably try doing in a reading, because I'm very proud of that, because it was all written out. It was like all this too much text, too much. I was showing, not telling, which sometimes you have to do as a cartoonist anyway. You do, but somehow I got these sudden inspirations, and this is why I work the way I do, this crappy way that I work, because you do get sudden inspirations. And like certain friends of mine work, they have a very set, tight script, and they just go straight through it, and I just can't do it. I have to make up my mind as I go along. That's why I like Dawn on Top Chef so much, because I relate, because she always fucks up. Right? Yeah. So Yeah, well, so anyway, yeah, I managed to like visualize all these concepts I was thinking about and putting them into iconography, like you and I. You know which part I'm talking about. I almost wish I had the book right now. Okay, I can show you. But anyway,
If we only
if those of you who have the book, like read the last part of chapter 1. I'm very proud of
Yeah.
that part. Yeah, because it was all like it was not pre-written, and I managed to throw out a lot of exposition and visualize my confusion, my conflicted feelings. Yeah.
Sure.
And I remember distinctly, like while he was working on it too, I was like, well, what happens next? Where are you going next? It's like, I don't know, we're going to see where it goes. Like, I could never work that way. I need to know what the outline is and how it's going to end.
Some of the people I work with, one of our coworkers, she she's like Stacey Abrams, she speaks extemporaneously. She does not write anything down. Katie Spencer. And then just, yeah. And other people think she's insane, but she's like, great, she does it. That's how she has to do it.
Right.
Whereas like you're like Diane Berg, you have to write it all down and figure it out.
Right.
Yeah. I love process, whether it's speech, writing, music, anything. I love process. Chef, cooking, any of that. It's very interesting to me.
All process. All right, staying on process then. So a lot of writers and memoirists talk about that tension between like trying to capture exactly how it happened, with the tension with elaborating and changing things up a bit. Would you look back on what went into Marry Me a Little? Did you exaggerate and embellish much? I mean, for example,
yeah.
I notice that whenever I show up, I'm at my computer, which is, of course, an exaggeration.
He was like anxious about that because it's like, we're in our computers a lot, like a lot.
No, but as you look back on it, where are the elements where there you do feel like maybe you elaborate or embellish?
Oh yeah, I mean, and you do silly stuff, and you do you use humor, you just whatever tells a good story. You lie your ass off if you have to, if it makes a good story. But there's always that you will know if you're not comfortable with something, you won't do it. And if you want to heighten the drama or heighten the rage or heighten the humor, then you do that. But yeah, I mean, don't like memoirists, especially cartoonists, don't feel this fidelity to the truth. You don't have to do that. You really don't. You can, but then there are times where you have to visualize something and you have to get it right. That's what that restaurant looked like. Like I had to draw Alma. I just had, I was not going to just dream it up. And Brightly Bold to it.
Brightly Bold?
Yeah. It was hard.
And a
It
government
was
center.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of Minneapolis
Oh, that
sites.
government center. Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's a rough one, but I liked how it turned out.
I think you kind of answered this question. A lot of people here tonight are in the book. You will recognize yourselves in the book. Holly Morris is here, and she stood up with me, and she asked this question, Rob, and I think maybe you've addressed it already, but she says, early in the book you reveal that neither you or John remember proposing, but surely you recall the conversations that were on. Are you willing to share a little bit about how those conversations went?
God, Holly, I don't know. I just don't remember. I think we were just like more doing the nuts and bolts. Like I remember John researching, as John will do, researching the judge, and we decided Elizabeth Cutter. Anybody who gets married, go to Elizabeth Cutter. She was awesome. Seriously. I would say, well, when I lived in Minneapolis, still I was able to vote for her. Actually, do you know? Yeah. Fellow judge there. Yeah. So. What was I? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I just don't remember very well.
She had a follow-up question, and she wants to know why
Why don't you remember?
Why? She'd like to know why her dog Hector is not mentioned once.
Oh, boo.
Yeah.
Why isn't Hector?
Why? Or
Well, he
beats.
wasn't. Well, was he around in 2013? Yeah. Yeah. I was too busy weeping, writing about my dog dying like that. Yeah. So Hector wasn't in our lives then. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't have time for him. Sorry. Didn't have room. Yeah. Yeah. Love him to death.
Let's leave.
He'll and I've drawn him many times since.
I'm going to give one more question from those that have been submitted beforehand, and then we'll open it up to all of you. This question is really about sort of the response to the book, and again, as Holly said, that she can envision that there are a lot of young people who will turn to this book to try maybe help figure out the same path,
Golly.
right? Which would be great, I think. We both would agree. But given what's going on across the nation right now, do you think Marry Me a Little is going to be banned in public schools? Or do you think it'll get a pass because it's endearing and sweet?
God, it's certainly not like genderqueer, the book over there. And I'm talking about graphic novels only. That book has inflamed so many people, and I don't even like to speculate about banning it. I know it would make me really angry if it just like book banning makes me angry. Let's hope not. And I don't want the notoriety for. It would just really make me angry. So don't do it.
There.
There's that.
Okay, well, I'll stop. I do have other questions, but I can ask you later. But what questions do you have for Rob about the book, about the process or content or response, Scott? And please use your outdoor voice, and I'll repeat if
do you still like John? No. So you go through a process like this that is celebrating a time in your life. What were the things that surprised you about going through and telling that story? Either memories that came back, or what you chose to put in and not put in, because you said it was such a immediate thing for you.
Oh, a lot of stuff got left out. Lots and stuff. And also by the time I sold the book to Penn State, I was really scrambling. I was like, I had a certain amount of time to finish, and a lot of regrettably. I'm actually going to work on a few things like adjacent to the book, and just do my Instagram or whatever, or my Patreon or whatever. What was the question again?
So did you what surprised you? Like you went, I forgot about this, or I'm glad I did this, or were there moments that really touched you that you didn't think would, since you're not always the most sentimental?
Yeah, I guess I was surprised at how much by the end of the book. Well, and of course I was finishing up the book in 2022 and writing up right until January 2022. The book ends in January 2022. I was so angry and frightened by what was happening politically, again, which, we've been in a constant state of that. And I realized how strongly I think I was, earlier on, I was trying to be all cool about it, no, I don't need to be married, whatever, who cares, but it is my right, it is our right, it is everybody's right, it should be, continue, and so I came up fairly strongly pro-marriage, even though I still have a lot of problems with the, outmoded patriarchal concepts and all that. Yeah, so that kind of surprised me, and a lot of reviewers picked up on that, and they were like, they seem to really want me to really be 100% gung-ho on marriage and stuff, rather than over the ambivalence, which,
That's right.
constant tension there.
One of the questions you've been getting a lot from folks in interviews, it's like, now are you a romantic?
Yeah,
Right.
I really want to know
You got
about
better,
that.
right?
Yeah, so you're better about that, right? Yeah, that's interesting.
What other questions do you have? Yeah, Brad.
Rob, what was the process like of finding a publisher? And you approach them, I'm guessing? And the second part is, what do you have to show them? Do you just have an outline or
Could you hear all that? There's a question about the publisher. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, Graphic Monday is the graphic imprint of Penn State University Press. And I found on Twitter, there was a call for submissions. They were doing a book called, an anthology of comics called, and they were brand new. It was the brainchild of the editor-in-chief of Penn State Press. And it was an anthology called The COVID Chronicles. And I had just done some diary comics for the Comics Journal about just a week early in the pandemic, and how freaky that was, just how frightening, and I was on partial furlough from work, and John's work had dwindled down quite a bit, and we had just moved into our new place, and it was just a really freaky time, and that, of course, that was really a really fun to do these diary comics, and I just did 5 of them, and when I heard about the COVID Chronicles anthology, I thought, oh, I'm gonna, I've already gotten paid from a publisher. Let's see if I can put them in this book, and I did. And the book was really, really cool, really good book, and I loved it. It was beautifully produced. Was nominated for an Ignatz Award, and I told Kendra. Kendra had said, since she's a new, hungry publisher looking for new, cool things, and she does a lot of books on graphic medicine. I don't know if you all know that. Like, there's a lot of people who do books about mental illness, physical stuff. There's a really brilliant book called Marbles by Ellen Forney. It's about like 10 years old, and it's about her experience of bipolar, and how difficult that was. All graphic. Yeah, these are all I'm talking comics, folks, just comics. So I told Kendra, I said, she was fishing for people, like, if you have any ideas, let me know, because she was really happy with how the book came out. And I just said, well, I actually happen to have a book about getting married, as a queer person, and I'm about halfway through, and it's going to be a while. And she said, yes, that sounds like a good fit. Please let me know. And so I did. When it was finally ready to show it to her, and she did a little back and forth. We did a little back and forth. She wasn't sure it was long enough, and a few other things. But she told me she presented it to her marketing department, and they were like super excited about it. They were like, "Oh, yes," and it went pretty smoothly. I had a good feeling about it all along. I wanted to work with them.
So he had most of it completed by the
So
time.
like just a PDF that you sent them then?
Yes, yeah, and I said, and I'll have chapter 3 will be done. I'd rather wait till it's done to show it to you, but if you wanted, whatever. So, yeah, if you have any shop talk questions like that, I'm happy to answer. Yeah,
Other questions?
Anyone.
Yes, Ben.
So you're really involved in kind of comics in general. You write and you draw. You serve for the Comics Journal, etc. Obviously, the genre of the graphic memoir is quite expansive. What other creators, artists, comic book writers do you relate to? Who are your influences? Who would you recommend someone would read if they really enjoyed your book?
Sure. Well, I would say to a lot of my coworkers who work in gender and stuff, I would say try Gender Queer by Maya Kobe. It is the most banned book in America right now. It's really great. Of course, Alison Bechdel. Eric Warner did an amazing book. He's a friend of mine, and he did an amazing book about Barney Frank, the openly gay congressman. It's fantastic. What's it called? Smart Guy, because he's from the Life and Times of Barney Frank, because he's from Boston, and that's how they talk. There's just so many, really. I'm blanking. Alison Bechdel, memoir. My friend Mari Naomi. So many.
And so many more.
Yeah.
They'll come to you.
I could go on and on, but I can't think of it.
Not right now.
But not at this time.
Thanks.
Hold.
Any last questions? Any other questions? Yes.
I just want to know 2 things. One, when you were done with your book, from that moment, how long did it take you, to get it sent back, saying, "Oh, we need this and this"? So the time you thought you were done, how long did it take you to actually get it? It's all done.
Oh Lord, when I got the PDF back with the text edits, I just thought, oh, this would be a breeze. And I was like, oh my God, there was like 68 of them or something like that, and I was just horrified. And they, but it made it a better book, and it happened after about 2 months, I think. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on with publishers, and then they sent it back several times, and then I think we went back and forth 3 or 4 times. And John, actually, you remember late in the game, you found a mistake that nobody had caught, just little typo things, so, yeah.
And so, and then who is your favorite sister? Who was it that gave you the official "It
course, this guy, like when I finished drawing, like, you know, even before I sent it to the publisher or whatever, I said, "Hey, I gotta go take a walk," and I just walked out. It's like, "Oh, I'm done. This is beautiful." And I came back, and he had like a bottle of champagne, like that. He had that stuff already. Yeah, because you want a lot of love when you finish a book, because you go through a lot when you write a book.
Yeah.
This thing took me like 4.5 years, off and on, to do. Yeah, with long fallow periods for moving and
Yeah.
stress and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you read about Martha's wedding. This is Martha Kirby, his sister, in the book. The
One of
judge-
the best stories in the book. I wanted to put in Nooper's wedding too because it was so cool.
Oh yeah. Which chapter am I in? No, I'm just kidding.
gentleman next to.
I just wanted to add, attached to that, was that I remember we had a conversation. You were halfway through the book, and I said, "So how are you doing? How's it going?" And we were discussing things. And I was surprised you told me you were doing about a page a day, or a page a month, maybe 2 pages an entire month. You know, for drawing and, you know, the work.
Fretting.
Fretting, yes. And I thought, wow, this is all very involved.
Yeah. Because again, I was doing, when I finished a page and I had to start a whole new page. I mean, of course I had notes and stuff like that, but
Yes,
I had
of
to
course. Drafts and stuff.
yeah, I
yes.
had to like figure it out. And again,
Yeah.
it would be so much easier if I could write it all ahead of time, but
Oh,
my
no.
process will not allow. I can't do it.
It made sense to
It's
me,
a bummer.
though. Yeah.
It's,
Rob, so now that it's all done and you're just doing these wonderful things and people are loving it, now when you look at it, what makes you happiest about this book?
that I did it. I'm really glad I did it. Yeah, I'm really glad I got it. I'm overall, I'm really pleased. I see all the mistakes and the stuff, but I'm really happy with it. You know, it just, and I feel like it, and I know I make fun of like being sincere and stuff, but I feel like it was a really sincere effort. It really was, I meant it, you know, it really came out very, as organically as it was gonna, you know, so, yeah.
Chris.
I was wondering, when you're writing, say you finish a page, you
Yeah,
walk
you're
away.
processing people, that's fun.
Yeah, you walk away and then you're doing something totally different and some great idea comes to you and maybe it's 5 pages back. You know, what did you do?
See, I'm like one of those suckers. I still haven't started drawing on an iPad and stuff yet. I still do by hand, but I really kind of prefer that. But yeah, I have to go, if I screw up something or decide I'm not happy with something, I have to go back and patch it, which is means you take your Bristol board and you draw, you know, you have to, so yeah, it's.
But it's like those, you know, those inspirations that come that weren't there when you were on that page.
And sometimes you just like go like, you know, I just don't want to redo this. I'm just, that inspiration's just gonna have to go.
Yeah.
It's gone with the wind. Yeah. But yeah, if it's something that's really, really, you know, it just will not leave me alone, I have to do it. But that doesn't happen very often. I believe me, I agonize so much over everything ahead of time. It's, you know, that, yeah. I don't want to make it sound like it's an awful process either, but I mean, it's just, yeah.
There was a question back here.
John, can I ask you a question?
No.
What was the question?
Can she ask me a question? Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
What sticks out to you the most about this entire process and the storytelling, or was there an emotion that hit that you were kind of surprised by?
Was there emotion or something that I was surprised by in the whole process? You know, the fact that the question keeps coming up of like, well, really, seriously, what did you talk about? You must have decided something. The fact, maybe it's more about the fact that we have bad memories than anything. But it is how often that we went back to that conversation to say, okay, no, seriously, how did we plan this, and when did we decide this? And it was, I mean, so that was something that I thought was going to get resolved, and we'd remember maybe along the way. And I also think it's, I recognized, you know, living with this daily, and if you live with an artist, you know you don't check in daily and say, how's it going? What are you going to do next, right? And so I didn't do that, and so it's not like I saw everything as it was being developed, and there was probably one time, maybe two, that I said, maybe, should we maybe not do that? Or can you make my hair look better? Like that. But there was very little of that. And I think that kind of surprised me too, which also made me feel like, oh, this is really us. That's going out into the story.
Yeah,
So.
I like to think that. Yeah, I like to think that it's that it's a pretty, reasonable, rounded portrait of us. Day to day.
So. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
taller usually. He actually let me draw myself on one of the pages.
Yeah, that's
So
actually one of
that's-
my favorite pages too, because that's where I started getting. I was like, well, I'm really being creative here. No, really, I really.
I'm
like
hiring it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but yeah, and that just, and it wasn't like a precious cutesy thing either. It was just like a really good, because you're in this too, and you got to Yeah. Did I tell you to, or did you say, can I, or what? Do you remember? We don't remember.
I think that's the general
Lost in the
theme.
sands.
That's how we know. Is there one last question before we head to signings here? Yes.
What was the thought process behind the title? Was it like you already knew what you were going to call it?
good
Or
question.
you had some idea?
Good question.
Title.
Stole it from Stephen Sondheim, the amazing Broadway guy, and it's like it just summed up so perfectly, our feelings about marriage a little,
Yeah. It's a wonderful song from the musical company,
Yeah.
and it is all about that back and forth. So,
Why don't you sing it for us now?
oh, look at the time.
And for the second printing, the book is actually going into a second printing already. I made sure to add in a thank you to Stephen Sondheim in the acknowledgments, and John was like, oh, you just gotta do it, right?
That was the other time.
Yeah.
I told you to put Sondheim in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were right.
Well, thank you all for all this wonderful
Thank you so
questions and conversations. Now we're supposed to back away and let Rob make his way safely to the table, right? Where I'm sure he'd be happy to talk a little bit more. Thanks again so much.